Hi everyone, this is Krista Moore with the Krista Moore Show, and we have an exciting topic today. We're just coming back from a Be 10 Again retreat. It was the first one of many, and we're here to share with you what we discovered, what we learned, how it all works, and we actually haven't had time to really debrief on this, so you're going to be hearing our conversation live. So thanks for joining us. Gosh, where do we begin? How about, let me give you a little bit of background. So the Be 10 Again retreat is an outcome of the idea that your 10-year-old self has a lot of power, that there's a process of going backwards to when you were 10 at that innocent age before social pressure and influence, that if we can discover who we are and then look at phase 2, which is the process of looking at our life after 10 up until now, the highs and lows, the experiences, the decisions we made, the paths we took. And then the third phase is connecting the dots and saying, gee, this is what I could do better or different, or that's why I feel or think the way that I do, or discovering more purpose, meaning, passion. So there's this process that we've been developing over the past year. And this retreat was our opportunity to launch that on a 5-day retreat that happened to be in the
south of France.
So we don't mess around.
No.
Well, and I think it's important to note this was a yoga retreat. I have attended international yoga retreats for the past couple of years. Cindy Bolka is a yoga retreat instructor. She's been doing it for 20 years, international retreats. Last year at this time, I was on the plane flying back with her, telling her about my whole 10-year-old self program, and we collaborated on that flight that when she does hers next year, we're going to have a themed one. So this was a bit of a dream come true, and we had a timeline to get it all done by, and that's kind of how they all got tied together. Yeah. So I want to ask you, Joyce, you were involved in the program up front. You've been an integral part of this whole process over the past year. What are your thoughts about the retreat? Was there any surprises or anything that you learned from it?
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises. And just in case any of you don't know me, my name is Joyce Kinsel. I've been working with Krista for a couple of years now. And I was really privileged to be partaking in this retreat that we just got back from. And I think that so much came out of it. It was surprising to me how much growth we all achieved just over the course of the week, how much we learned about each other, and we all shared about our 10-year-old selves. It was fun and playful, and it was an incredible experience for me. But I want to know what surprised you.
A couple of surprises I'm thinking were the connection that we all made instantly. Now these women, I think I was probably the common denominator, in terms of knowing them, but they come from different backgrounds and different parts of the country, don't know each other, and they came themselves for the most part, and there was this immediate connection. And I was really not surprised so much at that, except just really pleased that that's how we started the week, was with that strong bond and connection. And that everybody was there for a reason and for a purpose. No one was the same or alike, but they definitely transformed in 5 days. Actually, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but there's cooks that cooked our meals. We had some wonderful food. A mother and daughter team that were cooks. And when I was leaving, the daughter said how great it was. She said she wasn't eavesdropping, but she kind of understood what we were doing. And she said, I can't believe how different you all look leaving. And I said, what do you mean we look different? And she said, you're standing up more confident and really, really inspired. And I looked around and I really did see a difference.
Yes.
Just physically. So that was very cool.
That was cool.
Tell us a little bit about the actual process. So phase 1, which is remembering. What are some activities that we did to help us with phase 1? I was going to say, take a note of these too, because you could practice this on your own. These are some of the tools that you could start using today to start putting this process into play for yourself?
Right. Well, we had a therapist with us, Corky Boone,
Mm-hmm.
and she led us through a series of questions that we were journaling. And she gave us some really good prompts to help us kind of tap into those 10-year-old memories and remember who we were, what we were doing, what we loved. And that I thought was really helpful to kind of get us all in that mindset of what we were like as 10-year-olds. Because, you know, for some of us, that was decades ago. And it's kind of a process of remembering that takes some time.
I will say, when someone was sharing their 10-year-old story, it would jog my memory
Mm-hmm.
about another 10-year-old story that I had. So I think
Yeah.
I kind of refer to it as group therapy because we were as a group sharing, and the prompts that Corky had us journaling allowed the space for each of us to take a deeper dive. And some people were remembering things that they forgot that they even knew.
Mm-hmm.
And be ready for tears. There were a lot of
Yes.
tears.
Yes.
And what Corky was saying, it's from that pain that we get growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see how that happens.
Yeah, because not everybody had happy childhoods, or not all memories are happy.
Mm-hmm.
And as they surfaced, it was really cool as a group dynamic to just let people express their feelings. And we all sat there and held space and breathed into whatever emotions were coming up for different people. And we supported each other in a way that was so unique to me,
Mm-hmm.
that I've never really experienced before.
And we had some ground rules. I mean, we wanted to build an environment of vulnerability and confidentiality and
Yes.
trust in order for people to open up. So I think that we opened up quickly.
Yeah.
And then the other was just the respect.
Yeah.
And not everyone knew everyone, right?
No.
But they looked at everyone probably differently after they shared their 10-year-old story. And it made us realize that we all have crap, right?
Yeah.
That we're dealing with. And someone's trauma might be different than someone else's trauma, but it's still painful and hurtful for us. So I think, that was a terrific learning experience.
Yeah, and trust is a major element when you're in a dynamic like this. And I think that Corky and you and Cindy with the yoga component really helped to build a foundation of trust where everyone felt comfortable. They felt that their stories were safe to share. And that just made everything become so much more open and part of the process that we all went through together.
Yeah, I agree.
That was really a key.
And
element.
Joyce, you mentioned about the yoga. So this was a yoga retreat, and our intention moving forward is that they remain to have a yoga component, because it tied into our meditation, our relaxation, our getting grounded, helped with our dreaming and our memories.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it definitely is an important part of the process, the Be 10 Again retreat process.
Yeah, and it even helped our sleep, because we did a lot of restful yoga things in the evenings to help us sleep a little bit better and dream deeper and just feel a little bit more rested. Because sometimes when those emotions come up, it can stir you up or be uncomfortable. And it was really nice to have that evening process. Plus, we did bedtime stories on some of the nights.
Some great
we
stories.
had a lot of fun activities.
And there was play, and we tried to balance it where you didn't go away on this retreat and think, oh, like I'm inside in classroom setting.
Mm-mm.
And so we alternated days in terms of how much time we were spending on the actual program. And I wasn't sure how that was going to roll out, but I'm thankful that we did it the way that we did it, because after the workshop component, people needed alone time or to play or to laugh.
Yes.
So it's nothing that you could really do all day long, because that would be pretty emotional.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we could get
It would
through
be
it the way that
intense.
we did. Be intense, yeah. But we had different activities that tied into the 10-year-old self. For example, we went to an open air market in a small little town, and all these fresh vegetables and fruit and food and merchants, and we were to find something that reminded us of when we were 10 or something that really spoke to us, and then bring that back. And we actually played show and tell, and we
did.
talked about that particular gift that we picked up. And it could be a rock on the road. It didn't have to be anything that you would purchase, but something that really spoke to you, and we shared those with each other. And that tied, it was a fun excursion, but it tied back into the theme.
That was fun.
And you got your earrings.
I do. I found earrings that are dragonflies. That's probably really hard to see on there, but my sister, who was my best friend growing up, we were really close in age. We always looked for dragonflies because butterflies were too common for us. So dragonflies was kind of the symbol that we always had. And my sister passed away 4.5 years ago now, and whenever I see a dragonfly, I remember her. And I found these silver earrings with mother of pearl insets.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
That are dragonflies, and that was my 10-year-old memory. Yeah. So what was yours?
Well, since I've been working on this 10-year-old memory process for a while, I was able to, over the year, discover some things about my mother and my relationship with my mother. And some of you may or may not know, but my mother passed away about a week and a half before this retreat. And for the prior 3 months, I got to be her caregiver, and she was an in-home hospice in my home. And so going into this retreat, I was coming off of a significant life-altering change for me, and also my relationship with my mother. And she always said that she was going to go before I got to go to France, because she didn't want me to worry about her. And she did leave this earth a week and a half before, but she would say that she's going to the other side of the rainbow. And when we're boarding the plane to go to France, up popped a picture of a beautiful rainbow at the retreat center. And so I believe that she got there before me and she was going to be there. And I did feel her presence there. No doubt. I smelled her perfume, and she was in my room. I felt it. I'm just saying. So I picked up this necklace, which is colors of the rainbow. Yeah. And it's a good memory for me. And it's, that's my story.
Well, tell us about some other favorite parts, because we did so many different activities during the week. What were some of your favorites?
So phase one, which is that remembering, something that really prompted, I think, a great experience and memories, was something that Corky put together, which was called a mindfulness walk.
Yes.
And when Joyce and I and Corky were planning the program, Corky kept talking about this mindfulness walk, and I'm thinking, I don't know, is that going to work? Like,
it was a little woo-woo sounding.
Yeah. Both of us thought that, and it was amazing. It was freaking amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience on the mindfulness walk?
So we went on a picnic first, and we had some journaling prompts, and we had to kind of think about what we wanted to ask of our 10-year-old self. So then we went on this walk, and as I started walking, I didn't know where I was going to go. I just was going to follow wherever my spirit led me to go. And I started walking down into this little grassy area, and then there was kind of a hill. And all of a sudden, I had this memory of being at my grandma's house. My grandmother and I were very, very close, and she lived less than a mile from us. So I would ride my bike over to her house, and she had this hill in her front yard. Now, it was really not a big hill. It was kind of just a slope. Mm-hmm. But when you're a kid, that was an open invitation to lay down in the grass and roll down the hill. And we would do that over and over and over again, my sisters and I. And I saw this hill at the retreat center, and it reminded me of that hill in her front yard. But at the retreat center, it was kind of rocky, and it was steeper than the hill in my grandma's yard. So I kind of felt like, I don't really want to roll down that hill. But then I kind of asked my 10-year-old self, like in my head, not out loud, I said, oh, I wish I could roll down the hill. And the answer came back to me, well, I'll show you what it was like. And I sat down, there was like a day bed out in the middle of this area. And I sat down on the day bed, and I just closed my eyes, and I saw myself as a 10-year-old rolling down the hill in front of my grandma's house.
And you felt it.
I felt that joy and that excitement and that fun and that playfulness. as I was watching myself as a 10-year-old roll down the hill.
Oh, that's
and it was
cool.
a really cool experience.
And the whole mindfulness exercise was about intention. And when we walked alone and quietly and slowly, just to take in anything in the environment that, that's around us. And so I had two intentions. I'm going to share mine. One was, my question was, is there life after death? Because my mother had just passed and I was feeling sad, and I'm wondering, I have all this faith and all this belief, but is there really life after death? So that was a question I had in my head. And the other question was, I wanted to discover more about this Be 10 Again program, or your 10-year-old self, and I need to run with it and have fun with it and get it out to the world. And I just wanted to kind of feel more about that. So as soon as I started on my walk, I heard in my head, it's right in front of you. The answer's right in front of you. And I'm like, what answer? What, but I heard this. And right in front of me was nature and these beautiful flowers and trees that were budding, and some were dying and some were blooming and growing while others were dying. And I'm like, it's the cycle of life. There is, life after death. So that, I got my answer real quick on that one. Then I decided to walk in the woods, because as a 10-year-old, I loved hiking and walking in the woods. And I remember walking in the woods, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, this isn't too smart. I'm all alone. There's wild boar, and there's snakes. And then I thought, well, my 10-year-old would not be afraid. So I kept walking. And I got a fork in the road, and one way I knew where it went, and the other way I didn't. And my 10-year-old self said to me, go that way, the way that I didn't know. And I remember my grandmother telling me once that she wanted to take one road over another because she liked to travel where she didn't know where it took you. And that came back to me, and I decided to go down this path that I didn't know where it ended. And the message that I was getting is, don't be afraid to go to the unknown, and everything's going to be okay. So that was kind of the messaging that I got about the Be 10 Again program, and not to let fear hold me back from really growing this and doing what I want to do. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. So that was a great exercise.
Oh, yeah.
What are some other things we did?
We also did this expressive arts therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And this was something, Corky was trying to explain it to us, but until you actually experience it yourself, it's hard to understand. So we didn't know what that was going to be like, but that also turned out to be a very meaningful and significant activity that everyone participated in. And it involved some more journal prompts, and then answering our questions by expressing it through dance. And I can't do it justice. It's hard to explain it, like I just said, but the experience itself was really, really moving. It was so poignant. There were, emotions came up, positive, and, there were a few tears as well. And it was just an incredible experience. And everyone had their own individual experience, but yet we were all together.
Do you want to share yours?
Yes.
Yours was pretty intense.
Well, at one point, Corky played this song that was called Dancing in the Graveyard. And so we were all just kind of free-form dancing. And then all of a sudden, I felt my sister's presence. And it was just an incredible feeling. I knew she was there. She was telling me
to
dance. She was a dancer herself. And I really felt that she was there with me and cheering me on and dancing with me. And it was just an amazing
awesome
moment for me.
Yeah. And we often would use the term, this is magical, it's magical, because there were so many different signs.
Yes.
Yeah. And I kind of right there in front of us. Very cool stuff.
Yeah. There were a lot of Alice in Wonderland references.
Yeah, there was.
Which was kind of cool, because that was a great, childhood story that a lot of us read, or we've seen the movie. There's so many different versions of it. But Alice in Wonderland kept coming up again and again.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah.
The other phase is phase 2, and that was where we start reflecting on our life and decisions that we made and highs and low points and any regrets that we might have, things that we're most proud of, what we were doing when we were at our best. And that was a way to just go back and start remembering a little bit more and reflecting on your life and your journey so that you can then go to phase 3, which is kind of connecting the dots to help you determine what might be missing, what your superpower is, what your God-given gifts are that you could be using every day, maybe why you act a certain way, what triggers you have. And I was really pleased with how open everyone was on their lifeline and some additional things that came out for the guests to be able to move through that process even better.
Yeah, that was another really helpful activity that everybody, we all shared our lifeline and what's happened over our lives and the highs and lows.
And we certainly didn't know what other people's world was, or even people that I thought I knew. I discovered things that they might have not realized were significant.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of a part of their life or a decision that they made and kind of the direction that they took. So that was the second phase. And then the third phase was having really good open discussions around, well, what am I great at? What are my gifts? And we actually talked to our 10-year-old self. And so Joyce would tell me all these wonderful things about Christy Schaefer. And we would do that around, and that was like just empowering.
It was.
How other people saw you at 10. And the whole intent was to be able to look at yourself, and we did this.
Yeah,
we looked
that was
at ourselves.
Really cool.
What would she say to you? What is she saying to you? And mine was off the chart saying, just do it. What are you waiting for? You're 57. Like, make it happen. You can do anything. You're a Schaefer, which is what my dad used to tell me at that age. So what was your self telling you?
She was telling me how impressed she was that, first of all, that, you know, I survived my childhood and that the things that I've done with my life, she was really proud of me. And she wants me to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, she wants me to keep continuing to strive and, you know, to follow my dreams and to just open myself up and be more playful.
Yeah, that's great. So everybody had a significant takeaway. Some are changing their career path. Some have decided to separate from their parents for a while and do some healing. Some are quitting their job. Some have a better understanding of their relationship, and we all set intentions moving forward on what we can change for the better or different to just live more purposeful and to achieve our desires and our dreams. So all in all, it was a pretty cool success.
It was.
We did share some pictures, and I want to share some with the group so you could just see a little bit of what we're talking about. Normally during the show, we don't do any PowerPoints, but I wanted to share some pictures. So we're going to flip through some things so you can get a sense for it. This was our retreat center, and I can't forget the name of it.
Domaine de Mornac.
Yeah, you've got the French now, not me. Just some nice kind of pictures of what it looks like. There was a beautiful pool there that we enjoyed every day. And this is just some of the scenery, and it overlooks some beautiful vineyards and mountainous. This was definitely in the country on the south of France. Here's some pictures that really depict very French. We've got these pastries and these bakeries, wonderful food. And, you know, there's like this bike that was just sitting right outside the retreat center that just seemed so French to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because of the picture.
Blooming.
Flowers blooming and the vineyards. One of the things that that was a flash, but I wanted to talk about that flash. But you can go ahead and put another picture up. Well, yeah, these are moving too fast. Let's leave that one up for a moment. But I'm going to talk about the flash that came up. One of the signs that I got was there was a van, and the side of the van had a sign on it that said, stop dreaming and start doing. Now, keep in mind, this is a van, a white van in the countryside, south of France, written in English. And it happened to be broken down on the side of the road near our retreat center. And that was my message. That's what I needed to see. Stop dreaming and start doing. And so that's kind of what I've been up to for the past 3 or 4 days. And that was very cool.
Yeah.
There was also, we gave each other names.
Yeah, let's go back to that slide. That was really cool. So everybody kind of had a persona that emerged during the course of the week. And there were 10 of us that were involved in this, and we each just kind of found our own way and our own persona.
Yeah, and you know, there was no question on who was who and what our names were.
Yeah.
So we had the goddess, the mermaid, the earth mother, the rose, the healer, sparkle, and the light. And each played a role that week. And what we also discovered is that there are some key characteristics of 10-year-olds. And each of us had a persona that kind of matched one of those characteristics. So we had a lot of fun with these various names. And I'd love for you to tell the mermaid story.
Oh, yeah. So what happened was we were at the market, and one of our ladies that was at the retreat was the mermaid persona. And there was a woman who was singing just in the street. You know, she was pulled up a chair with had a microphone. And,
yeah, it felt like a panhandle.
Yeah. And she was singing, and she just took our breath away. She was such a beautiful singer. And some of the women in our group noticed that she was wearing Crocs that were like three or four sizes too big for her. And the mermaid decided to go over and buy a pair of shoes for her, buy a nice pair of shoes. So she went to a different part of the market, bought a pair of shoes, came back, and then we gave it to the singer when she was on her break. And I speak a little bit of French, so I was able to explain to her that, you know, we wanted to gift her this pair of shoes. And she was so excited. She put the shoes on and she just started dancing.
Like a 10-year-old.
Like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And she only put one on, and she was hopping around on one foot. And I said, put the other one on, put the other one on. And then she was so excited. So it was really significant that the mermaid, who doesn't have feet, actually gave shoes to the singer who needed them. I think we have a picture of that.
Yeah, I think it's really, that's all of us.
These are all, these are some of the tour days that we went on.
This is the rose. And I wanted to just mention these retreats moving forward, it's mind, body, and soul, and it's working through that quickly. So we have the rose, which she was reading spiritual cards. We have the fairy, which is our therapist, and she's like a fairy godmother. And then we also have the healer, which is the yoga instructor. So those are really going to maintain and be consistent moving forward. This was something I just wanted to read. I love it. You know how every once in a while you do something and the little voice inside you says, there, that's it. That's why you're here. And you get a warm glow in your heart because you know it's true. We need to do more of that. And that's the part that I want to really bring out in the program, is that we start being 10 again, being more playful, being more youthful, and living our purpose and not getting all wrapped up in things that don't matter, you know? Absolutely. And so I think moving forward, we certainly have plans for that.
Yeah, so tell us about the plans.
So we already are planning more retreats. We have some venues that we're looking at right now. We're definitely going to have at least 3 next year, and I'm hoping to have 1 or 2 more before the end of the year. We're looking at taking different age groups, 10 and 12-year-olds, through this process. Also, I think a 25 to 30-year-old range, they were brought up different than we were, and they have different stories. And I think them getting together and us doing this group therapy program will really be great for them. And then I want to move it to different demographics and different industries, or like, for example, we have a coach that does coaching with those that have been incarcerated. And this program can be done with that type of group, or those that are trying to figure out their next move, their career move. I think men, this is not just a woman's retreat, men need to open up and talk and remember and do some things moving forward that help them live the life that they are wanting to lead, instead of trying to be the stereotype provider or father, even though that's important, but sometimes that rules their life.
Right. I think that's really
And they
key.
don't open up as much as women. So we're thinking this is a venue for them to be able to do that. And we talked about military. Military, she was in Desert Storm. And we're talking about military transitioning into civilian. And so the process really applies to so many. So just getting connected and getting people learning about it, testing out different demographics. Finishing the book is about halfway done. And also, I just want to get more interviews, more stories, more of a movement around it. So you'll be hearing and seeing more from me on the Be 10 Again concept. Yep. And we want to certify coaches.
Yes.
Yep. So that they can, we think therapists and coaches may want a program like this that they can use with their clients. We have lots of tools that are a part of one-on-one coaching, as well as a part of someone saying, hey, I want to do a retreat. What do I need? We have all the tools designed for that to happen. So I just want to get it out there.
Good stuff.
Anything else I missed?
Do you have any resources that you want to share?
Yeah, so there are a couple things. We started a Be 10 Again Facebook group, but that's only for those that have gone through the process. We're going to keep building that. But you can go to the Krista S. Moore Facebook page. That's where we're going to be sharing a lot more of the Your 10-Year-Old Self concepts and stories and ideas. We do have a website, your10yearoldself.com, and we're going to be building that out as we continue this process of marketing and promoting it. But you can go there now, and you can get a download.
Yes.
Yeah. So the download will help you understand yourself at 10, and it gives you some prompts for you to remember what you were doing when you were 10.
Yeah.
Which is the first phase.
It is.
All right.
Everybody needs to be 10 again.
That's right. Okay, until then, this is Krista Moore and
Joyce Kinsel.
voila. Take care.